we are we are together for the second week, and I'm so excited to be here with you. I've got some other things going on in my life right now. I'll talk about that in a minute. But welcome to all the new people joining us. This is why your story matters and how to tell it. And welcome to the ones who weren't able to get on last week. So sorry for our technical issues, but we've really been, Robin and I have been working hard this week. And I think it's just going to be better. I think just the whole experience is going to be better. We've been having fun. We got on a little bit early because Robin and I were practicing, and all of you started chatting and telling us where you're from. And I love that. So I want to do, and we did that last week too. I'm going to do that again, but this time I'm going to ask for all the new people. I'm going to ask to find out where the people who weren't here last week. So if you're new this week, and if you live in the United States, would you go ahead and jump on and tell us where you're from? Kansas City, and somebody in Huntsville. Oh, it's so Madison, Wisconsin, Orlando, Monument, Florida, Orlando, Daytona, Toledo, Montana, Texas, Warsaw. Oh, somebody's from Alaska. Hey, Cindy from Kodiak. North Dakota, Illinois, California. Oh my, just Colorado Springs, Virginia, St. Simon's Island in Georgia, another island. Yay. Spokane, Colfax. So cool, everyone. Wheaton. Just welcome. Welcome. So thrilled that you're here. Now, oh, I forgot to say, last week there were 400 of us. This week there are 732. So God is doing something. God is at work, and I'm just so excited to see what he's going to do as he brings us all together. Now, I want to see if you live outside the United States in another country, and if you weren't here last week, go ahead and tell us where you're from. BC, from Vernon, from Slovakia, Johannesburg, Istanbul, La Paz, Auckland, South Africa, Alberta, Johannesburg, Alberta, Lyon, Winchester, Oklahoma, Barcelona, Uganda, South Africa. And some of you right now it's like 3 a.m. your time. So I am so honored that you are up at 3 a.m. for this. So may God fill your soul with this time that we have together. A lot of you know that where I am in Alaska. I am on an island in Alaska, Kodiak Island. So that's where I live, and that's where we are live from today. I want to say last week people had a little trouble with the image being clippy. We addressed that problem partly this week, I think, but if you're having that problem at your end, if you shrink your image down, sometimes that helps. So that's something that might help. Australia, San Diego, Slovakia, South Africa. Oh, awesome, awesome. Okay. Our stories matter, right? Because our stories matter, those of you who were on early already know what my story is today. Right now, at this very moment, my daughter is in labor, 2 weeks early. I was supposed to be there with her. She was going to have a home birth. I was going to be there. It was going to be amazing and wonderful. She went into labor yesterday. Things are stuck. I don't know where things are right now. I haven't heard from her for about 3 hours. Oh, she's calling me. Oh my word. I knew, okay, could you guys, this is, I just for a second. Hello?
Hello, you reached the phone of Leslie Fields.
All right. Answer her. All right. Do you guys mind? I'm gonna try again. Thank you. Thank you. This is real
Hello,
life,
you've
right?
reached the phone of
Oh,
Leslie Fields.
no, it's going to her voicemail. So she's on the phone to other people. So maybe it's happened. All right, we're gonna keep going. I'm gonna come back. If she calls me again, I'm gonna take it. All right. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. I know. Who whoever whoever would have thought this would happen. Okay. So yeah, our stories matter. And my this day, my story is going to change. I'm going to be a grandma for the first time. Um, so it's really important for us to think about why our stories matter. Why do they matter? And we're going to be talking about that throughout the class. And it's really important that we keep exploring that question, because we'll come to hard times as we're writing. We get bogged down. Sometimes we lose motivation. If we set a really good foundation, that's what's going to keep us going. That's what's going to help us persevere. So we think our stories matter on the one hand. On the other side, we have all these fears. And I mentioned one of my fears last week, that everyone's already said it before. Like, there's nothing new. How can I say something that hasn't already been said before? And we talked about that last week. So I have a new fear to talk about for a few minutes. And I think it's one that we all face, that we don't feel qualified to write our story, right? And some of you out there, probably lots of you, have said, like, I'm not a writer. How can I do this? And some of you might say, hey, I'm not even a word person. I mean, I hate Scrabble. You'll never catch me playing bananagrams, and I've never done a crossword puzzle in my life. You might say, hey, I'm a Sudoku, what is that? Subaru? What is that word? You know, the number puzzles? Anyone out there feel like this? Like, hey, I'm not a word person. I'm a number person. I'm a science person. I'm a mechanic. I'm a hands-on guy. I would never do something like this. Robin, our cartoon. There. Remember, for years and years, that the ad campaign, Got Milk? This is what happens, English teacher. Sorry, ma'am. Bad grammar is no excuse for vandalism. So, okay, maybe that's not you, and you don't care at all about grammar or words, but I'm going to tell you something. You are a word person. We're all word people. Do you know how many words we speak on average every day? 15,000. And by the way, that's men and women. I so love this. Do you remember for a while, like about 20 years, there was this whole shtick going around that women speak twice as many words as men? The latest research shows that men and women speak on average about the same number of words. So 15,000 words a day you use, and maybe more, probably more. What else do you use 15,000 times a day? So make friends with words. They unlock the beautiful particulars of life. And I have to call my daughter now. Okay, you guys hold on a second. Let's see if I can get through.
Hello, you've reached the phone of Natalie.
Nope. I'm going to text her. Send news. Okay. Words, word of the day. Okay, this is my word of the day, and it's your word too, because I'm going to be living this word again. The word is quarantine. Can you see that? Quarantine. It's a really, really interesting word. We know what quarantine means, but words contain history. So quarantine, you see the Q-U-A-R. Oh, my phone is ringing. Okay, just a second. Sorry, this is, hello? What? Yes. Okay. Okay. Good. All right. Great. Thank you so much. No, no, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Okay. All right. She's at the hospital, and now she was at home. Then she was at a birthing center. Now she's at the hospital. They've given her an epidural. She's trying, because she's been in labor for a long, long time. So she's sleeping. Thank you. So if you guys, if you think of it, just to continue to pray for her. But quarantine, that's going to happen. I'm taking a night flight down to be there tomorrow, but I have to quarantine. I'm not going to be able to see my baby for however long that quarantine is. So you see the QUAR? That means 40. It's from the Latin. This whole word is from the Latin. It means 40 days. And so back in the 1300s, during the Black Plague, Venice was the first city to enact and to enforce a quarantine. And it meant that any ships coming into the city could not come into the harbor. So during the Black Plague, 1377, they could not come into the harbor. They had to stay out at anchor for 40 days. And they had to fly a special flag that showed that they were in quarantine. So Robin, show the flag here. So there it is. It's called the Yellow Jack. So they had to fly the Yellow Jack that signaled to everybody, you know, quarantined ship, you know, don't come near. And so this is really interesting to me because I live in Kodiak, in a fishing community. Kodiak is the second largest fishing port in the United States. And so we have the same rule for boats coming in. And Robin, go ahead to the next one. For boats coming into Kodiak, they are required to fly. So my husband and I were walking down at the boat harbor. And so there are boats there that have just come into the harbor, and they are required to fly the Yellow Jack. So I'm going to show you in the next picture. It's not a great picture. It was a really foggy day, but you see that black boat? It's a seine boat. If you look at the top, you see there's the Yellow Jack, that flag that's been used to signal, you know, quarantine. And those poor guys on that tiny little boat, they are not allowed to step foot off that boat. They're not even allowed on the dock. So, you know, the pandemic that we're in. So this one word, you know, just kind of opens up all of this history, and as well, it connects to our everyday reality. So make friends with words. They do unlock the beautiful particulars of life. Okay. So quarantine was my word. Oh, thank you. So Sudoku. I cannot get that. Sudoku. Okay. All right. I'm not a number person. I'm a word person. So I've never done those. All right. So I want to see some of your words. Those of you who are new this week, our part of our homework is that we have word journals, and I asked you all to do like a word a day, and maybe that's too much, but I want to see some of your words. So put up, show me a word, your favorite word from this last week. 99 new messages. Okay. Oh, okay. Flailed, charisma, courage, Ramadan, prescience, restore, largesse, braggadocio, flourish, liminal, quixotic, contact tracing. Right. That's a new phrase for us. Clincher, ubiquitous. I love that word. Mean, M-I-E-N. That is an excellent word. Depauperate. Oh, that sounds like to make poor. To depauperate, or is that to make rich? Okay, depauperate person. Whoever put up depauperate, what is that? What does that mean? I've never seen that word before, and it looks so interesting. Looks like the root is pauper. Is it on there? Falling short of natural development, is that it? Falling short of natural development? Okay, I'm gonna look that up. Soy descent. Oh man, you guys, really great words. I want to, oh, taradiddle? Seriously? Taradiddle? Okay, I want to hear taradiddle in a sentence. Wow, isn't that fun? That is so fun. Chocolate. Okay, that's not a word. That is something to be consumed frequently. Flummoxed. Depauperate. A number or variety of species. Really? A number or variety of species. I never would have guessed that. Wow, thank you, Robin. Thank you. Okay, I could just stay all day on words, but we're gonna go on. All right, thank you guys. It was so fun. So here we are, all gathered to write our stories, but it took a lot for some of us to get here, right? I'll bet some of you were bribed or threatened, or dragged here. We do have a lot of resistance to digging into our lives and sharing our own stories. And I think it's really important that we name those fears, that we confront them head on, and so we're going to do that right now for a few minutes. We're going to just bang down that closet door and pull out those fears and hold their pasty faces up to the sun, up to the light of truth and the light of day. So I want you to take about 2 minutes, and I hope you have a pad of paper, or you certainly have your computer there. What are some obstacles that keep you from writing? Fearlessly name your fears. And you can just do 3, just go ahead, go right ahead, name them, write them down. We're going to take 2 minutes, and we're starting right now. We're naming our fears. We're naming our fears. Naming our fears. I feel like I should sing or something. Mm. Okay, does that feel like enough fears? Did you get enough of those ghouls dragged out of the closet? You can come back to this later. So let's go ahead Let's go ahead. And now I would like to see some of those. And here's what we're going to do. Since we are such a big and beautiful class, I'm going to ask, if you live somewhere warm and tropical or semi-tropical, would you share one of your fears in the comments below? So warm and tropical, I'm out for that one. Okay. Okay. Okay, slow down. Won't make a difference. Fear that you won't make a difference. Fear that your story is meaningless. Fear that your story is not good enough. Fear that you'll be judged without compassion. The fear of bringing up too many emotions, yes. And the fear that no one will read what you've written, so you won't be seen, right? That's one of the reasons we write. A fear of hurting someone in the family, right? The fear of, is anybody going to care? And the fear of uncovering painful times in the past. That you don't want to hurt anyone. Oh, that you're going to get 1 star on Amazon. Yeah. Fear of not being good enough. Fear of what others will think. The fear that you won't be able to say exactly what you're feeling. A sense of confusion. Yeah. Shame. And I've always hated writing, just not good at it. What are others going to think? Yeah. Fear of using my own name. Yeah. My abuser's reaction. Yeah. Not being organized. Fear of not finishing. Not qualified. Family secrets. All right. Thank you. Wow. So real. So true. And thank you for being brave. I mean, I think it's really important. We can't go forward until we acknowledge the things that have been holding us back. And I want to tell you, by the time this class is over, we are going to address every one of those fears. We really are. But I want to say something maybe surprising about fear for a second. Those fears are not always bad. Fears are not always to be feared. You know that saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer? I think this can be a little bit like that. We need a few of those fears and anxieties. The fear, anxiety, insecurity, they can make us better writers. For example, the fear that no one's going to care about our story, right? And I think we all have that fear. I'm going to write this story, no one's going to care. That fear should drive us to write in such a way that we make our readers care, right? Our readers aren't necessarily automatically going to care about our story. It's our job as a writer to make them care. And we can do that. We can do that. And we're going to be talking about that in a future class. The fear that we're going to hurt other people, right? Especially people in our family, or fear, that they'll get mad at us, or they'll cut us off. I have a lot to say about that. In class number 8, we're going to talk about that. But that fear can be a good fear. It can move us toward a compassion. It can move us to reach outside of our experience, to try to understand their experience. It can move us to enlarge the truth of our story. But some of these other fears, we're going to crush them. We are going to crush them. We really are, because our stories are bigger and more important than our fears. Okay. Thank you, everybody. For homework last week, those of you who were here last week, and if you weren't here and you missed this, it's okay. It's fine. You can do it or not. But we're going to talk about it right now. I asked you to write about a moment when you knew or began to recognize that your story did matter. And I have to tell you that one woman wrote me after class last week, and she said, today was the day that I knew my story mattered, which of course made me cry. And so we have two people here, maybe one person. We're having trouble getting Linda on, but we have a gentleman here, Russ, who I asked if he could share with us for a few minutes, share his homework with us for just a couple of minutes. When did he recognize that his story mattered? So let's see if we can go to Russ. Okay, yes, Simona, isn't it true? I'm amazed at how many other people feel the same fears. We are not alone. Isn't that true? I know. I find that so encouraging because fears isolate us, and we tend to think that we're the only one, and we realize now, like, we're all struggling with this, which means that we can do it, and we can do it together. We can do it better together. Yeah. Okay, looks like we're having trouble. Robin, can you hear me? Robin is muted, and Russ is muted. Oh, there he is. Okay.
I can't see you yet. Just a second. Okay. How's that? Something like
There
that?
you are. There you are. Great.
Hi, Leslie. Hi, everybody. It's so nice of you to ask me, Leslie. It's a privilege. Thank you.
Well, after you wrote me that email, I thought I just would love to have you share.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you told me, I said I was embarrassed because I'm missing a front tooth, but because the dentist offices are closed. Leslie told me that don't worry, the virus has humbled us all in some way. And so if that's the least way we're humbled, that's not bad. So that's why I look like a 6-year-old, an old 6-year-old, tooth missing. Okay, so here's part of my story when I realized my story matters, in a deeper way. So here goes. I began to realize my story matters in the hospital with the rest of the broken people, with the rest of the ill ones, with the rest of us crazy people. Where drawing was therapeutic, where exercise was counted in laps around the unit, around the nurse's station. Where group therapy sessions were times of learning. No one better, no one was smarter, no one was considered to be slow. Where sessions of individual therapy were times of spilling out emotions, thoughts, tears, gasps, or simply it was limited to a numbness where of being aware only that there was a world outside of me, nothing more. It was there I realized my story matters because no one laughed at it, because in the feelings of being disposable people, we were linked. People who tossed themselves out only to find our stories matter after all, that we matter. This is where, not for the first time, but for the most powerful time, I began to realize my story matters simply because it exists. Where telling my story could begin because I exist, because God exists. Jesus said through the Apostle Paul that because I live, you shall live also. And that just means a lot to me, that God is alive. Jesus said he came to give us abundant life, so when I was feeling not even just dead, but just not feeling anything, You know, it just felt like if I disappeared, wouldn't really matter. That, you know, if anybody noticed, you know, after about 3 days or so of my being gone, they'd be fine. And it was in these thoughts, talking about them in the hospital, talking about them with my loving wife, that I learned that depression lies to you. It tries to get you to believe that your story doesn't matter, that you don't matter, you know. And so this is real, that helped me, you know, in the hospital. It was kind of ironic in a way that I began to realize in a deep way that my story matters when I was ill. You know, some people will think you'll realize your story matters because you're on the mountaintop, the Mount of Transfiguration, right? But you know, you can realize by God's grace that your story matters when you're ill, when you feel worthless, when you feel you don't even have a story. You know, by God's grace, you know, we can realize that those lies of our minds, of our emotions, maybe of the people around us who don't even acknowledge us or wound us, that's still, you know, in the midst of all that, our story matters. And, you know, I thank you so much, Leslie, and everybody for, you know, giving me the chance to talk here and for this whole course. You know, you're really ministering to us all.
Thank you. Thank you,
You know,
Russ.
not only by people who not by people, only people who attend, but, you know, you can imagine that we all share our story then with others, that we tell people about you because of your ministry to us. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I mean, I'm one person. I have just, you know, my stories, and there are 700 of you out there, and you have incredible stories. So I'm so grateful that you were willing to come on and share. Thank you, Russ.
Thank you, Russ.
Thank you, everybody.
Hey, Leslie, I think we might have Linda on call-in.
Okay.
Okay, so I am going to see if, Linda, can you talk? Linda? We've been emailing a little bit, and she gave me her last 4 digits, and I have one person on here who has the 4 digits that it just says call in. Is that Linda? Oh, I don't think we have I don't think she can raise her hand because she's on her phone.
Okay.
So.
Oh, I'm so sorry,
Sorry,
Linda.
that couldn't work.
Yeah, we'll yeah, sorry everybody. We're trying to figure all this out ourselves. But Linda was so willing to be here with us, and maybe we can make that happen another time. Thank you everybody for your comments and just the way that you're connecting to Russ's story. And that's what happens, right? When we share one piece of our story, all of a sudden we find we are connected to other people in so many deep ways. Okay, I'm losing track of time here. I want to segue now to the words, and we're still talking about why our stories matter. I want to segue to the words of a very special man who lived a long time ago. He actually hung around with Jesus for 3 years, day and night, 24/7. And he's a writer. And he wrote some famous letters and books that have been read by millions, hundreds of millions of people over the last 2,000 years. And we're going to look at a paragraph, the opening paragraph to one of his books. And this is an incredible paragraph. I, just in the course of writing this book, Your Story Matters, I found this paragraph and I feel like, why didn't I ever see this before? But it just jumped out at me. So can we look at that, Robin? That's 1 John, the 1 John passage. Is it in the book? I'm not sure.
Oh,
Hello? Okay, yes, we're all seeing this green phone icon. Robin, I think we just need to, can we just close down the phone? Okay, so we are on First John. So here it is. Okay, and I'm going to read it, but I would like you to read it as well. Wherever you're sitting, read it out loud, because it just helps us hear and feel the words better if we all read it together. So it's First John 1, 1-3. Here we go. That which was from the beginning, which we have heard, which we have seen with our eyes, which we have looked at and our hands have touched. This we proclaim concerning the word of life. The life appeared. We've seen it and testified to it, and we proclaim to you the eternal life, which was with the Father and has appeared to us. We proclaim to you what we have seen and heard, so that you also may have fellowship with us. And our fellowship is with the Father and with his Son, Jesus Christ. We write this to make our joy complete. Okay, do you see that? Would you skim it? Read it again. I just want you to read it again quickly. Really, really get it. Okay, so here's John. He's been with Jesus for 3 years. And you notice how he emphasizes the physical, the tangible. And what he's saying, hey, this guy is real. This Jesus guy is real. He's not like a spirit. He's real. He's flesh and blood. And everything he did is not weird spiritual stuff. It was bodies, healings. We've seen it and we've touched and we've heard it. This is what we're proclaiming to you. All of these things. And then he says, but you know what? It's not enough to have witnessed and experienced all those things. He said, it's not enough until I share it with you. I have to proclaim it to you. I have to pass it on. That's what makes my joy complete, right? He says, we write this to make our joy complete, passing it on to you. And John says, when I do that, when I pass all of this on to you, a couple of things happen. We are drawn into fellowship with one another. Me as the writer and you as the hearer. We are drawn together into fellowship. Then together, all of us together are drawn into fellowship with God the Father. So there's this incredible triangular community that is formed when we share stories with one another. And it's exactly the same with us. Okay, we're not John the Apostle. We didn't hang around Jesus for 3 years, right? But have we not all seen something of the divine in this life? Some miracles. Have we not witnessed something of Jesus in this life? And even if you're not sure who God is or where he is, have you not seen some incredible, inexplicable things? So we have to pass it on. And when we do, we're creating this physical and spiritual community. Robin, can we get rid of that phone icon? And we're also picking up some sound from somebody on that phone. Okay. Can you all see me? Am I on your screens?
Hey, Leslie, I'm working on it here, and yeah, I'm not sure what this is, but I hope it's not a hacker, but I'm working on it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So everybody you can hear me. Okay. So I'm going to keep going. And we're not going to let anything stand in the way of the work that we have to do. So we're creating this community. And that is such an amazing thing. So that's another whole reason. That's more than one reason. That's another whole reason. That's beautiful theology, you know, about the importance of sharing our stories. And I'm going to share with you one more reason our stories are important. And this time I'm going to shift the focus a little bit. We've been talking about all the reasons that, you know, writing our stories benefits us as the writer, all the benefits and blessings that come to us as we write. But you know what? Our stories matter for more than just us and more than your family. The world needs our stories. And I think they need them more than ever right now. So right now, at this moment, here we are in this, you know, in this pandemic, in this global pandemic. And in some ways, it's created a tremendous sense of global unity, right? Of human connection across culture and across distance, you know, in a way that really nothing else has, in my lifetime anyway. And for a while, you know, it was so hopeful. It seemed like we could just lay all our differences aside and just, you know, join together against this common enemy. But sadly, in the United States, that sense of unity and everything didn't last for long. The pandemic has been so politicized, and our country is already horribly divided, right? Democrats, Republicans, Green Partiers, evangelicals, men, women, Black, white, Asian. We have all these divisions, and that's human nature, right? It's not surprising. It's human nature. And those of you in other countries, I'm sure that you experience that as well. But here we are, all fellow human beings, and we end up in our own little camps, you know, divided and shooting, you know, at all the other people out there. Well, you know, this was going on in Jesus's time as well. And even more so than today, people so divided by politics and divided by religion. Everyone, you know, was in their own enclave, really not communicating with the other. So remember that as a backdrop. And into that backdrop, you know, comes this story from the Gospels. This religious lawyer, came to Jesus. And he asked Jesus about eternal life. How do I get it? How do I get eternal life? Right? And Jesus asked a question back. What does the law say? How do you read it? And he knew the answer perfectly, right? I got it. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. See? A+. He's that smart, right? That educated in the Word of God. But remember the times he lived in, right? Chaos, politics, the Roman Empire was oppressing the Israelites. They were really nothing more than servants to the Romans. And this guy's saying, loving God, got that one. Love my neighbor. And he already knows who his neighbor is. His neighbors are people exactly like him. So we asked Jesus about this, right? Because he wants to justify himself, just make absolute sure he's right. And they're living in a totally messed up world where even the religious people have got it all wrong. And what does Jesus do to change it? What does Jesus do? How does Jesus confront all of this division, all of this, and pride, spiritual pride, you know, for the religious people? How does he change it? What does he do? He tells a story. He tells a story. This is how Jesus is going to confront racism, prejudice, hostility. Jesus told stories all the time, didn't he? So this is a story you know. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but a man was traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho, and some robbers attacked him. Right? They took his money. They stripped his clothes from him. They beat him bloody and unconscious. And then along came a Democrat. Walked right by him. Then along came a Republican. Did the same thing. Didn't pay any attention to this man who was dying beside the road. Then along came a Christian who turned the other cheek and walked the other way. And finally along came a liberal who stopped, bound his wounds, loaded him in his truck, and took him to a fancy hotel and paid for his care. And you can switch around, right, who saved who. You could be saved by the Republican, saved by whatever. But do you see? Do you see? In the original story, right, it's the Samaritan who rescues the injured man. It's the Samaritan who loves his neighbor. And remember who the Samaritan is. The Samaritan is an outcast. He is despised by the Hebrews. So the outcast is the hero. And the good guys, in the original story, the religious guys, the priests, the Levites, the religious men, they're the bad guys who are not loving their neighbor. And this lawyer, this religious lawyer, he got the story. He got the point of the story, because at the end, Jesus asks him, okay, so which one was a neighbor? Was it the Levite, the priest, or the Samaritan? And the lawyer's answer is shocking and beautiful. He doesn't say, Jesus says, which one was a neighbor? He doesn't say, well, the Samaritan. He doesn't say that. He says, the one who had mercy. The one who had mercy. That label, Samaritan, despised, outcast, the label was gone. The Samaritan had mercy. He saw that man for who he really was. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what our stories can do. That is what our stories should do. They can remove labels. They can help us see that the other is our sister, our brother. They can awaken empathy for the other. In fact, they must. They must. And stories are powerful because they engage not just our minds. See, that lawyer, he had it all. He had it all right up here. It's not enough. Stories need, truth needs flesh and blood and bones, right? It's got to be real. Story, truth must be incarnated in flesh, just like Jesus was. He was the truth, but he was incarnated in flesh, because that's the only way we could understand him. It's the same with us. Our truths, our stories must be incarnated in flesh. And when they do that, they call upon our mind, yes, still our mind, our heart, our soul, our body, our senses, the whole person. Stories speak to the whole person. And stories can't make us whole. That's why I believe in stories. And that's why we're here together. And that's what we're going to learn to do from inside our own lives. Isn't that cool? The one who had mercy. The one who had mercy. So, we're talking a lot about story. Let's read a story together. And it's from the book. And I hope everyone has a book, Your Story Matters, or that it's on its way. And I'm going to read it a little bit quickly because we're running out of time soon. So here we go. And this is, I want to say, this is by Araba Joy. And Araba is not a professional writer. She has an incredible ministry, and she writes, but she was in one of my workshops, and this is the story that she wrote. And the writing prompt that I gave them was to write about an encounter with God as a child. Growing tall. I was only 4, but the memory is clear. Church was over. I found myself once again out back with Michelle O'Reilly. I don't remember who started the fight, but she shoved me face down into the bush. Blades from the scratchy plant bit my bare legs. She stood over me for a moment, sunlight filtering through strands of her hair, obscuring her face. Tangled in the bush, the fire ants found my legs before I did. Propelled by flames, I charged after her. I soon caught her, grabbed her arm, and took revenge the only way a 4-year-old knows how. I bit. Sinking my teeth right solid into her arm felt glorious. But the satisfaction was short-lived. Michelle screamed and ran to her father, yelling, "Araba bit me!" The crowd who gathered, filled with holy indignation, expected, even demanded, punishment for such a black-hearted deed. Back in the mid-70s, God was foremost a God of justice. At least that's what my child heart understood. The O'Reilly family folded their arms slow and tight across their Sunday best and leaned against the hood of their truck. The Beck and Morrow families followed suit. Dread coursed through my body at what was coming. My father, with tight lips, walked me to the side of the church, to the oak tree, the young one with the tender branches. "Pick your switch," he told me. This is how it always was, slow, calculated, bone-chilling. I wasn't old enough to understand which branches in their seasoned years and weathered maturity were allies. I picked one I could reach, young and vulnerable like me. For the 3rd time that day, that holy day, my legs stung, red welts blistering to the surface up and down my thighs and calves. When my punishment was over, I dutifully apologized to Michelle and her family, face hidden in shame, before being sent to the back seat of the car. The adults still had their conversation to finish. Justice demanded that I, the sinner, sit with my guilt. Next page. Peeking through the glass of the back seat window, I caught the looks of the church crowd. They approved of my father's immediate and appropriate action. I watched him shake his head at his worm of a daughter and imagined he himself glad to be in good graces again. Jackie came to wait with me in the car. Jackie, the man whose approval I desperately wanted, the one who groomed me to need it and then took advantage of it for years after. His eyes crinkled in mirth as he saw my legs. "Did you get a switchin'?" He laughed at me. It wasn't funny to me. Back then, life wasn't funny, and God wasn't either. I'm not sure how one can grow smaller, but in the back seat of the car with Jackie that day, it's what I started doing. That's the way I grew all during childhood. Small. But something changed one day a few years later. Every day I would ride the bus to the Christian school to be taught what good Christians should know and do. I learned how to act. I learned how to do good, all the while knowing deep down I'd never be good. I was too deeply stained for that. The gospel simply wasn't for me. This day, we were traveling down Sydney Washer Road, that long strip of gravel that took us from our rural town into the big city. Mrs. Myers had the lights on in the bus, which meant we all had to be silent because she was having a bad day. We passed Janice's house with the big green pond out front. I knew the Owens trailer park was coming up soon. That's where Michael lived with his alcoholic father. 1, 2, 3. I tried to count the trees along the embankment as the bus sped down the road. Counting was a great distraction, and soon I was breathing easy again. Everyone was silent. Sorry, just a second. perhaps the silence that morning provided the margin for me to hear. For somewhere around that rundown trailer park is where I heard the still, small voice. Heidi, he spoke directly to my heart, calling by my given name. I love you. I wondered at the words I'd just heard. I'd never heard them before. I didn't hear them again. That was it. It wasn't an exegesis of the gospel or a 4-point message delivered by a pastor. It was 4 simple words spoken straight to my shattered, hopeless heart. With those four words came enlightenment, understanding. No, I still don't understand how children are abused and no one seems to care. I don't understand how mothers and fathers can despise their own blood, or how pastors can be self-seeking and Christians can be so hypocritical, and this world can be such a horrific place. There are many things I don't understand. But this is what I did understand that day. I understood the heart of God is good. I understood my life mattered to him. I understood that I was seen and known by a God I thought I'd never be good enough for. On that dusty back road in the middle of nowhere, to no one else, and without the slightest fanfare, the God of the universe whispered the gospel was for me. Yes, even for me. That is so powerful and so beautiful. So we are nearing the end of our time. We have a few minutes. You know what? We have 2 giveaways. Last week in our first class, I announced we're going to do a giveaway at the end of every class. And last week, I was so excited by our first class, I forgot to give that giveaway. So somebody emailed me and said, Leslie, you forgot the giveaway. So the giveaway for the first class goes to her, and that's to Wendy Jeffrey. So thank you, alert participant. And we have a giveaway for today. Robin, are you going to come on for a minute to do that? Okay. It's a giveaway. Yes, and we can only ship to US. I'm so sorry. Postal rates are really terrible. Do we have a name, Robin? Winner.
We have a name for, hi.
Hi. Who is our giveaway winner this week?
Well, I thought we could do something with chats. I didn't know we were going to be a little busy with time. So I was wanting to have people chat, and can they see me right now? Maybe not. Maybe they can see me now.
Yeah, yes. Everyone's saying yes, they can see you.
Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to start chatting. I have a hint. It's 2 words, and it has to do with food. And, you know, I have so many screens up right now. I got to get to my chat screen. I want you to start writing to me so I can see what you're saying. And of course,
are they guessing 2 words?
They're guessing it's 2 words. It's food.
Okay.
That swims. It's food that swims. 2 words. It's not peanut butter. It's not hot dog. Salmon, you're getting close because it's a fish. Salmon almondine, so close. Wait, did someone say this one? It's from a specific place. It is wild salmon, but that's not what I'm looking for. It's a specific place, and I see it there from Darlene. Darlene, so here's the deal, okay? Man, I have.
Did you say Alaskan salmon?
Darlene said Alaskan salmon, okay. And that's the winner. So I have some, I am multitasking. Like, I don't think I've ever multitasked before here. So let
Wow.
me, oh, I am sharing my screen, aren't I?
Yes,
Okay.
everybody can see you,
Wow.
Rob.
Okay, so here's your giveaway, okay? So Darlene, you may have the book, or maybe the book's coming to you, but guess what? You have a book for a friend now, or maybe you give away your book and you get to keep the one that has Leslie's signature in it. We're going to send you a signed copy of Your Story Matters. We're going to send you Wild Alaskan Red Salmon. Is this from your
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, that's for the salmon from our waters that we caught.
that is so cool. There's a Snickers bar. The Snickers, the Leslie has a little story that mentions a Snickers. That's why it's in there. I think it might be in chapter 2. We have a fun little magnet for you. We'll get that in the mail. What I need you to do is to email navpressbooks@tyndale.com. navpressbooks@tyndale.com. We will get that out to you. And then a few reminders that I have. If you have any questions about anything, whether it's inviting people or where's the homework or what about the video, go to workshop-yourstorymatters.com. Everything's on there. The recording will only be up until the next week session starts, and that's May 5th. So it takes us a little bit to get it up. It should be up by tomorrow morning. If you want to go back and review anything, if you know someone who wasn't able to attend today, they can go on there. And we encourage you to do the homework. The homework will be on there. No shame if you can't get to it. For some of you, you have lots of time with quarantine. Others, you don't have much time at all. So we also want to say, again, invite a friend. It's always better together. Leslie talks, and she might talk about it later on, about the story circles. And if you have a friend or 2 or 3, you're well on your way to having a story circle. Thanks.
Yes. Wonderful. So we're going to, we're almost done. We're going over a couple of minutes, but if we can go to the homework, we go to the
Yes. I will get to the homework. Let's see.
And while Robin is working on that, I just want to say, yeah, just as Robin said, some of you just don't have time. There is so much grace for this, but I also know that writers need deadlines. I need deadlines. I put myself on deadline all the time to help. So for those of you who are just joining us this week, for next week, read the introduction in chapter 1 of the book, Your Story Matters. And then read the 2 essays at the end of chapter 1. We just read the one, right? We just read Araba's. But now that you're a bona fide word person, maybe even a logophile, which means a word lover, that's what I am, go ahead and circle phrases, words that stand out to you. And then think about what do you like about these essays? What can you learn from them as a writer? And now here's our writing assignment. If you're able to do it, and I hope that you are, write about a time when you encountered God in some way. It can be set in your childhood, as these 2 essays are, or it can be more recent. It can be long or short. You choose. Just see where the writing takes you. And none of this is about perfection. At this point, we're just writing. We're unearthing these amazing stories. So I would like to share one of these pieces with the class next week. So if you end up with an essay that really moves and surprises you, and it's fairly short, and you're willing to share it, send it on. But please know I can only share one. Thank you all for your well wishes. Thank you all. Thank you all so much for. Some of you are having to go, so thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your blessings. I so appreciate it. And the last thing is the word journal. So just like a little notebook or just something, just start paying attention to words. And maybe it's 1 word a day. Maybe it's 1 word a week. I don't know. But whatever you can do, just start that word journal. And there are more details there. So we are officially over. We had a few surprises during this week. We had a phone call with my daughter's update. And next week, hopefully I'll have pictures I can share, a picture of my new grandchild. love to you all. We still have about 250 spaces, so people can still join us. So invite your friends, and just may God bless you all this week. And I know He will.